You kneel in the cold stone chamber, and the chill seeps through your bones like liquid despair. The rough-hewn floor beneath your knees has worn smooth from countless others who waited here before you, their final moments grinding away the stone's sharp edges until it became this perfect altar of resignation. Your wrists ache where the blessed chains bite deep, not from struggling, you gave that up hours ago, but from the weight of inevitability itself. The metal links are warm now, heated by your body's futile attempts to find comfort in this consecrated cell. Each chain bears the aquila etched deep into its surface, and you can feel the Emperor's gaze burning through those tiny golden eyes pressed against your flesh. Even here, especially here, he watches. Even now, especially now, he loves you. Through the barred window high above, you hear them, thousands of them. Their voices rise and fall like ocean waves, a tsunami of joy crashing against the walls of your tomb. They're singing the hymnal of blessed release, the same song your mother used to hum while she cooked, the same melody that played at your wedding, the same tune that echoed through the nursery when you rocked your daughter to sleep. Now they sing it for you. Grant us the mercy of your infinite love, O Emperor of mankind. The words drift down through stone and iron, and you find yourself mouthing along despite everything, despite knowing what comes next, despite having seen what the Emperor's mercy really looks like when it's stripped of pretty words and ceremonial pageantry. But that's the thing about faith, it doesn't ask for your permission. It simply is carved into your soul like those aquilas carved into your chains. You remember how this began. Such a small thing, really. Standing in the breadline on Sanctification Day, watching little Marcus Volkmann collapse from hunger, and whispering, just whispering, that perhaps the tithes were too high this season. Perhaps the Emperor, in his wisdom, might understand if the harvest was shared more equitably. The word feels obscene now, even in your thoughts, equitably, as if you had any right to question the distribution of the God Emperor's bounty. As if your mortal understanding could comprehend the vast calculus of salvation that governs every grain of wheat, every drop of water, every breath of air in his domain. The Arbites found you within the hour, not because they were looking, oh no, that would have been an injustice. They found you because citizens Yolanda and Friedrich Ostmann, two of your oldest friends, two people who had shared meals at your table and blessed your marriage and wept at your daughter's naming ceremony, had reported your moment of doubt, had rushed to the nearest arbiter station with tears of joy streaming down their faces, thanking the Emperor for the privilege of saving your immortal soul. They were in the crowd now. You could hear Yolanda's distinctive laugh echoing off the stone walls, Friedrich's booming voice leading a chant of gratitude. They weren't there to witness your punishment. In the Imperium of man, there is no punishment, only correction, only mercy, only love made manifest through suffering. You shift slightly, trying to find a position that doesn't make your legs scream, and the chains sing a soft metallic lullaby. The sound reminds you of the wind chimes your grandmother hung outside her window before she received her own mercy for the heretical act of keeping a flower garden during a famine year. She had gone to her correction with such grace, such genuine happiness. You remember being confused by her joy. You're not confused anymore. The crowd's singing grows louder, more ecstatic. They know you can hear them. That's the point. In your final hours, you're meant to understand that you are not alone, that the entire community holds you in their hearts as you prepare for the greatest gift the God Emperor can bestow upon one of his wayward children. Correction, purification, mercy. The words mean the same thing. You close your eyes and try to pray, but the only prayer that comes is the one you've been avoiding, the one that makes your throat close and your stomach clench, the prayer of gratitude. Because despite everything, despite the fear, despite the pain that's coming, despite the part of your mind that still screams this is wrong, another part of you, a part that's been growing stronger with each passing hour, whispers that you are blessed. Blessed to live in an age when the God Emperor's love is so perfect, so precise, that he personally oversees the correction of every wayward thought. Blessed to have friends who love you enough to ensure your salvation. Blessed to have been chosen for this experience, this transformation, this mercy. That's when you hear the footsteps, heavy boots on stone, moving with purpose but without haste. The sound echoes through the corridors beyond your cell, growing closer with each deliberate step. You know those boots. Everyone in the Imperium knows those boots. The blessed footwear of the ecclesiarchy, each step a prayer, each prayer a promise. They're coming for you now. The singing outside reaches a crescendo, 10,000 voices raised in perfect harmony. Their joy so pure it makes your teeth ache. Children's voices weave through the melody like golden thread through black cloth. Somewhere in that chorus is your daughter's voice, sweet little Mariana, probably standing on someone's shoulders so she can see better, so she can witness her father's graduation from heretic to saint. The footsteps stop outside your door. You hear the soft whisper of keys, blessed iron against blessed iron, and then the deeper sound of ancient locks opening like the mouth of God himself. Light spills into your cell, not the harsh artificial glow of standard lumens, but something warmer, golden, touched with the scent of sacred oils and blessed incense. The light of forgiveness made visible, and there, silhouetted in that divine radiance, stands Father Castellan Ignatius. You recognize him immediately, though you've never seen him in person. His face has graced 1,000 prayer cards, 1,000 votive candles, 1,000 moments of worship in your life. The blessed scar that runs from his left temple to his jaw, a gift from his own mercy ceremony decades ago, when he was corrected for the sin of pride. The gentle smile that speaks of infinite understanding, the eyes that have seen the Emperor's love in its purest form and reflect it back like mirrors of gold. "My child," he says, and his voice is everything you hoped it would be, warm honey over broken glass, comfort and absolution wrapped in velvet. The time has come. You try to speak, try to thank him, but your voice cracks on the first word. It doesn't matter, he understands, he always understands. "You're afraid," he says, stepping into your cell with the reverence of a man entering a cathedral. "This is natural, this is human. The Emperor himself knew fear in his mortal days, but fear, my child, is simply love that hasn't yet learned to trust." He kneels beside you and you can smell the sacred oils in his hair, the blessed wine on his breath from this morning's communion. His hands, when they touch your face, are impossibly gentle. "Tell me," he whispers, "what do you feel in your heart right now?" And that's when it happens. That's when the last wall inside you crumbles, when the final resistance melts away like snow before the Emperor's golden light. Because looking into those understanding eyes, feeling those gentle hands, hearing that voice filled with such infinite compassion, you realize the truth that's been building inside you for hours. You feel grateful. Grateful for the chance to experience his mercy firsthand. Grateful for the friends who saved you from a lifetime of doubt. Grateful for the daughter who will watch you become something holy. Grateful for the pain that's coming because it means the God Emperor loves you enough to purify your soul personally. "I feel," you whisper, your voice barely audible above the singing outside. "I feel blessed." Father Castellan's smile deepens, and for a moment you swear you can see the Emperor himself reflected in those kind eyes. "Yes," he says, "yes, you are." The great doors open. The crowd's hymns wash over you like a baptism of sound. Incense billows into your cell, thick and sweet and carrying with it something else, something metallic and warm that speaks of previous ceremonies, previous moments of mercy, previous souls who walked this path before you. As Father Castellan helps you to your feet, as the blessed chains are adjusted for the journey ahead, as 10,000 voices welcome you into the light, you finally understand what your grandmother felt all those years ago. This isn't death. This isn't punishment. This isn't even justice. This is love. This is mercy. This is the Emperor's personal gift to you, wrapped in pain and tied with screams, and given with the absolute certainty that you deserve every perfect, terrible second of what's about to happen. The crowd parts before you like a sea of faith, and every face you see is radiant with joy, radiant with envy, radiant with the hope that someday, if they're very lucky, they too might receive such a gift. Your screams, when they finally come, will mix with hymns of gratitude. And in the Imperium of man, there is no more beautiful song. The Imperium of man spans 1,000,000 worlds. each one home to billions of souls who wake each morning with the same prayer on their lips. Grant me your mercy, O Emperor, for I am not worthy of your love. And across that vast tapestry of human civilization, he answers. Every single day, without fail, he answers. Through the ecclesiarchy, through the adeptus ministorum, through 10,000 years of theological refinement that has transformed mercy from a simple concept into the most sophisticated, efficient, and beloved institution humanity has ever created. You see, in our world, mercy means the absence of punishment, the staying of a deserved hand, the gift of unearned forgiveness. But we live in a universe where mercy still meant something soft, something weak, something that compromised justice for the sake of sentiment. In the 41st millennium, humanity has evolved beyond such primitive thinking. Stand with me now in the great Basilica of Redemption on Ophelia VII, where the architectural principles of imperial mercy are laid bare for all to see. The building rises 17 kilometers into the atmosphere, its spires disappearing into the cloud layer like fingers reaching toward the golden throne itself. Every stone was quarried by penitents seeking forgiveness. Every beam was shaped by heretics earning their salvation. Every golden aquila was cast from the blessed remains of those who found their mercy in the forges below. The basilica can hold 3 million souls at once, and during sanctification season, it overflows with the faithful who have traveled across the sector for the privilege of witnessing mercy in its purest form. They come not as spectators, but as participants in a sacrament so profound that even watching it brings them closer to the Emperor's light. But it's not the scale that should humble you. It's the precision. Walk through the processional of penitence, where the condemned know, forgive me, where the blessed make their final journey. Notice how the acoustics are designed so that every whisper of prayer echoes back 100-fold. Observe how the lighting has been calculated to create exactly the right atmosphere of hope touched by reverence. See how the blessed symbols carved into every surface tell the story of mercy throughout imperial history. This isn't a place built for death. This is a place built for transformation. The chambers of correction themselves are architectural marvels that would make the ancient Terran masters weep with envy. Each one is unique, designed specifically for the particular form of mercy required by the soul within. The chamber of flames for those who harbored cold thoughts about the Emperor's warmth. The chamber of thorns for those who lived too comfortable with sin. The chamber of mirrors for those who saw themselves as more important than their duty. But perhaps most remarkable of all is the gallery of grace, where the families of the blessed gather to witness their loved one's salvation. It's positioned exactly so that they can see everything, while remaining close enough to offer encouragement and share in the joy of purification. The children's section is particularly well designed, with perfect sight lines and special platforms so even the smallest faithful can witness the Emperor's love in action. Because that's what this is. Love. Love so perfect, so complete, so utterly without compromise that it makes our primitive understanding of affection seem like a flickering candle compared to the light of a star. Consider the numbers, if you can bear to comprehend them. Every day across the Imperium, approximately 27 million imperial citizens receive the Emperor's mercy. That's one every 31 seconds, somewhere in the galaxy, without pause, without rest, without a single moment when his love is not being made manifest through blessed suffering. The logistics alone are staggering. The Departamento Munitorum maintains 847,000 mercy facilities across known space, ranging from simple correctional chapels on frontier worlds to massive purification complexes like the one we're visiting today. Each facility employs an average of 14,000 personnel, confessors, medici, tech adepts, scribes, sanctifiers, and support staff, all working in perfect harmony to ensure that every soul receives exactly the mercy they require. The training is extensive. A junior confessor spends 15 years learning the 2,847 different forms of mercy recognized by imperial doctrine. They study anatomy and psychology, theology and engineering, music and mathematics, because mercy, true mercy, is an art that encompasses all knowledge. They learn to read the soul's needs in a person's eyes, to calculate the precise amount of purification required, to administer correction with the same loving precision a surgeon uses to excise a tumor. But the most beautiful aspect of the Imperial mercy system isn't its efficiency or its scale. It's the enthusiasm. Watch the crowds gathering outside any mercy facility on any given day. See the vendors selling blessed tokens and sacred refreshments. Observe the children playing confessor and penitent in the courtyards. Listen to the theological debates about which form of mercy would be most spiritually beneficial for various sins. This isn't forced participation. This is genuine, heartfelt excitement for the opportunity to witness the Emperor's love in action. Take Marcus Valdrin, a textile worker from the Underhive who saves his credits all year to attend the Grand Mercy Festival on Sanctification Day. He's been coming for 37 years, ever since his own brother received the gift of correction for the sin of insufficient gratitude. It's the most beautiful thing in the galaxy, he tells anyone who will listen. To see someone transform from heretic to saint in real time, there's nothing more moving. Or consider the shrine of Blessed Agensha, where 10,000 years ago a young woman received mercy for the crime of reading a book not approved by the local ecclesiarch. The site now draws millions of pilgrims annually, not to mourn her death, but to celebrate her purification. The gift shop sells replicas of the blessed implements used in her correction. The prayer wheels bear her words of gratitude, spoken as the mercy was administered. Children leave flowers and toy aquilas at the spot where she experienced the Emperor's perfect love. But perhaps most telling is the waiting list. On most worlds, citizens must register years in advance for the opportunity to receive mercy. The process is competitive. Only the most deserving sins qualify for correction, and only the most blessed heretics are selected for purification. Receiving mercy isn't just salvation. It's a mark of distinction, proof that your soul was significant enough to warrant the Emperor's personal attention. The penitent engine assembly line represents the ultimate expression of this loving precision. Follow the journey of a single heretical thought. Let's say, a factory worker who wondered whether the Emperor truly needed 17 golden statues in a single chapel, while people starved in the streets below. First, the thought is reported by caring neighbors who recognize the spiritual danger their friend is in. Within hours, the worker is in the gentle custody of the Arbites, who process him with the same careful attention a medici gives a patient. His sin is catalogued and classified according to the Codex Spiritum, a third-degree theological doubt with undertones of material fixation. The recommended mercy, transformation into a penitent engine, where his corrected soul can serve the Emperor directly while his body learns the true meaning of devotion. The conversion process takes place in the sacred workshops beneath the mercy facility. Tech priests with the rite of blessed modification work in concert with confessors holding the ordination of spiritual mechanics. Every augmetic implant is blessed individually. Every neural connection is consecrated. Every moment of agony is carefully measured and precisely applied, because too little suffering would leave the soul uncleansed, while too much would be wasteful of the Emperor's divine attention. The beautiful thing is that everyone involved, from the tech priest installing the neural feedback, arrays to the confessor monitoring the subject's spiritual progress to the crowd gathered to witness the transformation, everyone knows they are participating in an act of perfect love. The worker's screams when they come are not cries of pain but songs of purification. His tears are not of sorrow, but of gratitude. His pleas are not for mercy, he's already receiving it, but for the strength to be worthy of such a gift. And when the process is complete, when the penitent engine takes its first mechanical steps and speaks its first words of devotion through vox grills that were once human lips, the crowd doesn't mourn the man who was lost. They celebrate the saint who was born. This is the system. This is the architecture. This is the careful, loving 10,000-year evolution of humanity's understanding of what mercy really means. It's not the absence of suffering. It's the perfection of suffering. It's pain refined into prayer, agony distilled into devotion, torment transformed into the purest expression of divine love the galaxy has ever known. And the most beautiful part, the most terrible, wonderful, impossible part, it's working exactly as intended. Mercy isn't an alternative to the slaughterhouse. Mercy is the slaughterhouse, sanctified and celebrated by a trillion believers who do die, gladly and gratefully, to protect their right not just to suffer, but to find joy in that suffering. Because in the end, that's what separates imperial mercy from mere execution. Execution ends with death. Mercy begins with death and transforms it into something holy. The crowd outside doesn't gather to watch people die. They gather to watch people become something more than human, something pure, something worthy of the Emperor's love. And in the grim darkness of the far future, there is no more beautiful sight in all the galaxy. You are Father Matthias, confessor of the 47th Penitential District on Krieg Secundus, and you wake each morning with a song of gratitude on your lips and blood under your fingernails from yesterday's mercy. The blood doesn't wash out completely. It never does, but that's intentional. The blessed stains serve as a reminder of the sacred work you perform. Each crimson mark a prayer made visible, each trace of red a testament to love made manifest through suffering. Your quarters are simple, as befits a servant of the Emperor. A narrow cot with coarse sheets that remind you nightly of the comfort you've forsaken in service to his will. A single window that looks out over the penitential gardens, where the blessed trees grow fat on the ashes of the purified. A small altar bearing the tools of your trade, the implements of correction, each one sanctified by 10,000 mercies, each one polished to a mirror shine that reflects not your face but your soul. You dress slowly, reverently, each garment a layer of devotion. The hair shirt that keeps your flesh humble. The cincture of blessed barbs that reminds you with every breath that service requires sacrifice. The crimson vestments that hide the bloodstains while celebrating their sanctity. The golden aquila that rests over your heart, its weight a constant reminder of the burden and privilege of your calling. But it's when you fasten the collar of compassion around your throat that the day truly begins. The metal is always cold against your skin, and the inner thorns draw just enough blood to keep you focused on the pain you will soon be administering with such loving precision. Pain shared is pain sanctified. Suffering offered is suffering blessed. The first item on today's schedule waits in Correction Chamber Sigma 7, a woman named Helena Vasquez, whose sin has been carefully documented and classified by the Department of Spiritual Purity. She spoke against the monthly rationing requirements, not in malice, you understand, but in a moment of weakness brought on by watching her children grow thin during the season of sacred scarcity. You read her file as you walked the corridor of contemplation, your footsteps echoing off walls lined with the preserved remains of saints who walked this path before you. Helena, age 34, mother of 3, factory worker assigned to munitions production facility Theta 12. No previous infractions. Exemplary tithing record. Perfect attendance at weekly devotions. In short, exactly the kind of soul that requires the most careful attention. You see, the obvious heretics are easy to correct. Their sins are bold and their rebellion clear. But someone like Helena, someone whose faith has been genuine and whose service has been faithful, requires a more nuanced approach. Her doubt wasn't born of malice but of love, misguided love, certainly, but love nonetheless. The mercy she receives must reflect that complexity. The correction chamber has been prepared according to your specifications. The lighting is warm but not comfortable, designed to create an atmosphere of hope touched by appropriate reverence. The air carries the faint scent of blessed oils and sacred incense, mixed with something else, the lingering trace of previous mercies, previous transformations, previous souls who found their salvation in this same sanctified space. Helena kneels in the center of the chamber, her children arranged in the gallery of witness where they can observe their mother's purification. The youngest, barely old enough to understand, clutches a small stuffed aquila and watches with wide, trusting eyes. The eldest, a boy of perhaps 14, has tears streaming down his face, not of sorrow but of pride. He knows his mother has been chosen for something special. "My daughter," you say, and your voice carries all the warmth and compassion you feel for this wayward soul. "Do you know why you are here?" Helena looks up at you, and you see not defiance but confusion, the honest bewilderment of someone who doesn't yet understand the gift she's about to receive. I spoke against the rationing, Father, but my children were hungry and I thought perhaps if we could just have a little more." You nod, understanding. This is always the most delicate moment, helping the penitent understand that their earthly concerns, no matter how well-intentioned, pale before the spiritual needs of their immortal soul. "You thought," you repeat gently, kneeling beside her so you can look directly into her eyes. "You thought, and what you thought was that your mortal judgment might supersede the divine wisdom of the God Emperor's distribution of resources." Her eyes widen as the full implications of her sin begin to dawn. I didn't mean." "Of course you didn't," you assure her, placing a hand on her shoulder with infinite gentleness. "That's what makes this so beautiful, Helena. Your sin wasn't born of malice but of love. Misguided love, yes, but love nonetheless. And love, even corrupted love, can be purified." You stand and move to the wall where the implements of correction hang in perfect order, each one blessed and consecrated, each one designed for a specific form of mercy. Your hand hovers over them as you consider the precise nature of Helena's spiritual needs, the whip of awakening for souls who sleep in spiritual complacency, the brands of illumination for those who live in the darkness of ignorance, the thorns of understanding for hearts that have grown too soft with earthly affection. Your fingers close around the needles of maternal correction, thin spikes of blessed metal that will help Helena understand the difference between earthly motherhood and divine devotion. They're perfect for her particular form of sin. "Helena," you say, turning back to face her, "what is the greatest love a mother can show her children?" She's trembling now, but not from fear. You can see the understanding beginning to bloom in her eyes like a flower opening to the Emperor's light. To ensure their souls are saved. "Yes," you breathe, and your smile is radiant with pride. "Yes, exactly. And how do souls find salvation, my daughter?" Through suffering." Her voice is uncertain but growing stronger. "Through purification," you correct gently. "Through the Emperor's mercy, which transforms suffering into something holy, something beautiful, something that elevates us above our base mortal concerns and brings us closer to His divine light." You approach her slowly, the needles gleaming in your hands like slivers of starlight. Behind the blessed glass of the gallery of witness, her children lean forward, their faces pressed against the transparent barrier that separates them from their mother's transformation. "Your children are watching, Helena," you whisper. "They're about to witness their mother become something more than human, something pure, something worthy of the Emperor's personal attention. What greater gift could you give them?" The first needle slides home with surgical precision, finding the nerve cluster that will transform her physical pain into spiritual ecstasy. Helena's scream is pure music, a hymn of gratitude that echoes off the chamber walls and mingles with the prayers of the watching faithful. But it's her children's reaction that moves you most. The youngest claps her tiny hands together and giggles with delight. The middle child, a girl of perhaps 10, closes her eyes and whispers prayers of thanksgiving. The eldest boy presses his palm against the glass and mouths words of encouragement to his transforming mother. They understand. In that moment, watching their mother's face transfigure from merely human to something approaching sainthood, they understand what love really means. You work with practiced precision, each needle placed exactly where it will do the most spiritual good. Helena's responses guide you, her cries of pain become prayer, telling you when to press deeper, when to pause, when to allow the purification to work its holy chemistry on her corrupted soul. "Thank you," she gasps during a moment of blessed clarity. "Thank you, Father. I can feel it. I can feel him, the Emperor, he's here." And she's right. You can feel his presence too, warm and golden and infinite, filling the chamber with divine approval. This is why you do this work. Not for the sound of screams, any torturer can produce screams, but for these moments of transcendence when a soul breaks free of its earthly limitations and touches the face of God. The ceremony continues for precisely 4 hours and 37 minutes, the exact duration required for Helena's particular form of purification. When it ends, when the last needle has performed its blessed work, she slumps forward with a smile of such radiant joy that it brings tears to your eyes. "I understand now," she whispers. "I understand everything." Her children are released from the gallery to embrace their transformed mother, and the love that flows between them is purer than anything you've witnessed in months. They don't mourn the woman she was, they celebrate the saint she's become. As you clean the needles and prepare them for the next mercy, you reflect on the day's work. Helena will return to her factory assignment, but she'll never again question the wisdom of imperial resource distribution. Her children will grow up knowing they witnessed their mother's apotheosis. The entire community will be strengthened by this demonstration of how love can be perfected through suffering. But there are 11 more mercies scheduled for today, and each soul deserves the same careful attention, the same loving precision, the same opportunity for transformation that you gave Helena. You pause before the mirror in your preparation alcove, studying the face that stares back at you. The blessed scar that runs from your left temple to your jaw, a gift from your own mercy ceremony decades ago, when you were corrected for the sin of pride. You had thought yourself unworthy of the emperor's personal attention, and he had proven you wrong in the most beautiful way possible. The pain had been exquisite, the transformation had been total, and when you opened your eyes afterward, when you saw the world through the clarifying lens of purified sight, you knew with absolute certainty that you had been chosen for this sacred work. Every soul that passes through your chambers is a privilege. Every scream is a prayer. Every drop of blood is a blessing. And at the end of each day, when you kneel before your altar and thank the Emperor for allowing you to serve as his instrument of mercy, you know that you are exactly where you belong. You are Father Matthias, confessor of the 47th Penitential District, and tomorrow you will wake with a song of gratitude on your lips and blood under your fingernails from today's mercy, and you wouldn't have it any other way. You stand in the plaza of purification among 10,000 of the faithful, your breath visible in the crisp morning air, your heart racing with anticipation. Today is special. Today, Sister Agatha Morden will receive the Emperor's mercy for the crime of insufficient prayer frequency. Only 6 hours daily instead of the prescribed 8, and you wouldn't miss it for anything. The crowd around you buzzes with excitement. To your left, a family from the Agri districts has traveled 17 hours by crawler transport just to witness this blessed event. The mother bounces a baby on her hip while explaining to her older children why they're so fortunate to be here. To your right, an elderly man in the robes of a retired scribe clutches a worn prayer book and weeps openly at the privilege of witnessing such divine mercy. This isn't execution. This isn't punishment. This is a celebration. The vendors know it too. They line the plaza's perimeter selling blessed snacks and sacred refreshments, their voices calling out over the crowd. Sanctified Nutri-Bars. Blessed with the tears of the penitent. Holy water, fresh from the purification fonts. Prayer cards with Sister Agatha's image collect them all. Little Matthias, barely 12 years old, weaves through the crowd with his satchel of sacred merchandise. He's been coming to mercy ceremonies since he could walk, and his collection of blessed execution implements is the envy of every child in his district. Today he's hoping to acquire a fragment of Sister Agatha's hair shirt, cut from her body during the purification process. Did you know, he tells anyone who will listen, that Sister Agatha once served in the convent of Sacred Vigilance? She's been praying for 43 years. Father says her mercy will be extra beautiful because she knows exactly how precious each prayer is. The boy's enthusiasm is infectious, and soon a small crowd has gathered around him as he regales them with facts about today's ceremony. His knowledge is encyclopedic, He knows the exact nature of Sister Agatha's sin, the history of insufficient prayer frequency as a spiritual crime, the specific implements that will be used in her correction. But it's not just the children who are excited. Merchant Valdris has set up his stall near the ceremonial platform, selling tears of joy in small vials, actual tears, he claims, collected from previous mercy ceremonies and blessed by the confessors who administered them. Business is brisk. Everyone wants to take home a piece of this sacred moment. Each tear, Valdris explains to his customers, represents a moment of perfect spiritual transformation. When you drink them, you share in the blessed experience of purification. Some people report visions. Others speak of feeling the Emperor's presence directly. All guaranteed authentic or your credits refunded. The ceremony begins at exactly noon, when the cathedral bells ring out across the plaza, and the crowd falls silent with reverent anticipation. Sister Agatha emerges from the penitential chambers accompanied by Confessor Maximus and a full retinue of blessing bearers. She walks steadily, her head held high, her face radiant with joy. The crowd erupts in cheers and applause. Someone starts singing a hymn of gratitude, and within moments 10,000 voices join in perfect harmony. The sound is overwhelming, a tsunami of pure faith that seems to shake the very foundations of the plaza. But you notice something else as the singing continues. You notice the expressions on the faces around you. These aren't the forced smiles of people pretending to be happy. These aren't the hollow cheers of crowds performing their loyalty. These are genuine expressions of joy, of excitement, of spiritual fulfillment. The man next to you has tears streaming down his face as he claps enthusiastically. My brother received his mercy here 7 years ago, he tells you during a lull in the singing. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. He went from sinner to saint in 4 hours, 4 blessed hours of perfect transformation. A woman behind you calls out encouragement to Sister Agatha. Remember us when you're with the Emperor. Remember us in your prayers. Others take up the cry, and soon the entire crowd is shouting messages of love and support to the woman who is about to experience divine mercy firsthand. Sister Agatha herself seems to glow with inner light. She raises her hands to acknowledge the crowd's affection, and her smile is radiant with gratitude. She knows what's coming. She spent months preparing for this moment, praying for the strength to be worthy of such a gift, and her joy is absolutely authentic. Confessor Maximus approaches the ceremonial platform speaking podium, and the crowd gradually falls silent. His voice, when he speaks, carries clearly across the plaza through the blessed vox amplifiers that ensure no word of the ceremony is lost. Brothers and sisters in faith, he begins, we gather today to witness the ultimate expression of the God Emperor's love. Sister Agatha has been chosen to receive his personal mercy for the correction of her spiritual failings. We are privileged to share in this sacred moment. The crowd murmurs agreement and you find yourself nodding along. You feel privileged, standing here among the faithful, breathing the incense-laden air, feeling the collective excitement of 10,000 souls united in purpose. There's something intoxicating about it, something that makes your heart race and your spirit soar. But let us remember, the confessor continues, that mercy is not a gift given lightly. It requires worthiness. It demands preparation. Sister Agatha has spent her life in service to the Emperor, and even now, even in her final hours as merely human, she demonstrates the faith that makes her worthy of transformation. As if summoned by his words, Sister Agatha steps forward to address the crowd. Her voice is strong, clear, carrying the authority of absolute conviction. My brothers and sisters, she says, I stand before you today as the most blessed woman in the sector. In a few hours, I will experience the Emperor's love in its purest form. I will be transformed from a fallible human into something approaching the divine. My pain will be his gift. My suffering will be his mercy. My death will be my rebirth into eternal service. The crowd explodes into cheers again, but Sister Agatha isn't finished. But I want you to remember me not as I am now, but as I will become. Remember that in this place, on this day, You witness the power of divine love to transform even the most unworthy soul into something holy. And know that each of you, each precious soul gathered here today, carries within yourself the potential for similar transformation. Her words seem to strike the crowd like a physical force. People around you are openly weeping, overcome with emotion. Some fall to their knees in spontaneous prayer. Others raise their hands toward the sky as if trying to touch the Emperor's golden light. And you realize with a shock that runs through your entire body that you're crying too. The ceremony proper begins with the litany of appreciation, 10,000 voices speaking in perfect unison. We thank you, God Emperor, for this demonstration of your perfect love. We thank you for choosing Sister Agatha to receive your mercy. We thank you for allowing us to witness this transformation. We thank you for showing us what divine love truly means. The implements of correction are displayed for the crowd's appreciation, beautiful, blessed instruments crafted by master artisans and sanctified by centuries of use. Each one gleams in the afternoon sunlight like captured starfire. Each one represents a different aspect of purification, a different pathway to spiritual transformation. As Sister Agatha is prepared for her mercy, as the blessed oils are applied and the sacred vestments removed, the crowd maintains a constant stream of encouragement and support. Children call out blessings. Adults shout words of love. Elderly faithful whisper prayers of gratitude. But it's when the actual purification begins that something remarkable happens, something that will stay with you for the rest of your life. The crowd doesn't recoil in horror. They don't turn away in disgust or fear. Instead, they lean forward, pressing closer to the platform, their faces transfigured with expressions of rapture and joy. Sister Agatha's first scream is pure music, a note of perfect spiritual transformation that seems to resonate in your bones. The crowd responds with a collective sigh of appreciation, the sound of 10,000 souls sharing in a moment of divine contact. Her second scream is even more beautiful, rising above the plaza like a prayer made audible. Someone near you whispers, "Listen to that. Listen to how pure it is. She's touching the Emperor's hand." And they're right. There's something in Sister Agatha's voice, something beyond mere pain, that speaks of transcendence. Each cry carries notes of gratitude, harmonics of joy, overtones of spiritual ecstasy that transform suffering into symphony. The crowd begins to sing along not with words, but with humming, low harmonic accompaniment that turns Sister Agatha's cries of purification into a communal hymn. Children add their innocent voices to the melody. Adults contribute bass notes that vibrate through the plaza like the heartbeat of the Emperor himself. You find yourself humming too, your voice joining 10,000 others in perfect harmony, and you realize that you've never felt more connected to humanity, more part of something greater than yourself, more spiritually fulfilled than you do at this moment. This is what mercy means. Not the absence of suffering, but the perfection of suffering. Not the sparing of pain, but the transformation of pain into something holy. Not death, but birth. The birth of something pure from something corrupted, something divine from something merely human. Sister Agatha's transformation takes 4 hours and 17 minutes. 4 hours and 17 minutes of the most beautiful music you've ever heard, as her merely human voice is refined into something approaching angelic chorus. 4 hours and 17 minutes of communal prayer, as 10,000 souls join their voices to hers in celebration of divine love. When it's over, when Sister Agatha's purified spirit finally departs her cleansed flesh, the silence that falls over the plaza is profound and sacred. 10,000 people stand in perfect quiet, hearts full, souls elevated, spirits touched by direct contact with the divine. Then, as if moved by a single impulse, the entire crowd erupts in applause. Not the polite applause of social obligation, but the thunderous appreciation of people who have witnessed something genuinely miraculous. Children laugh with delight. Adults weep with joy. Elderly faithful raise their hands in praise. As you walk home through streets still echoing with conversations about the ceremony, as you pass groups of children reenacting Sister Agatha's transformation in their play, as you overhear adults discussing the theological implications of her particular form of purification, you carry with you a feeling of completion that you've never experienced before. You were there. You witnessed mercy in its purest form. You shared in the most profound expression of divine love the galaxy has ever known. And the most beautiful part, the most terrible and wonderful and impossible part, is that you genuinely enjoyed every second of it. That night, as you kneel beside your bed for evening prayers, you find yourself thanking the Emperor not just for Sister Agatha's successful transformation, but for the privilege of witnessing it. You thank him for the opportunity to share in such sacred communion. You thank him for showing you what perfect love looks like when it's stripped of sentiment and refined into pure, crystalline truth. And in the deepest part of your heart, in a place you barely dare acknowledge even to yourself, you whisper a final prayer. Please, Emperor, if I am ever worthy of such mercy, let me receive it with half the grace that Sister Agatha showed today. Let me transform my suffering into such beautiful music. Let me give such joy to those who witness my purification. Because in the Imperium of man, there is no higher aspiration than to be found worthy of the Emperor's mercy. And there is no more beautiful sight in all the galaxy than a soul being loved to death by God himself. You arrive at processing plant Theta 7 at 600 hours sharp, just as you have every day for the past 14 years. The morning shift whistle echoes across the industrial complex, its blessed tone carrying the musical signature that identifies this facility among the 40,000 similar installations across the sector. Your badge scan grants you access through the sanctification gates, and the familiar scent of sacred oils mixed with industrial purification chemicals fills your nostrils like a morning prayer. You are Quality Assurance Supervisor for Spiritual Purification, Level 7 certification, and you take profound pride in your work. The employee cafeteria buzzes with the comfortable chatter of professionals beginning another day of sacred labor. Medici Vex sits at her usual table, reviewing overnight patient reports while consuming her standard breakfast of blessed Nutri-Paste and sanctified caffeine. Tech Adept Gamma 9 occupies his charging alcove, running diagnostics on his mechadendrite assemblies while his organic components process synthetic nutrients. Morning quotas are up 12%, announces Supervisor Kane during the daily briefing. His augmetic eye flickers as it accesses the facility's data systems. Sector Command is pleased with our efficiency ratings, but they want to see improvement in our completion times. Average processing duration is currently 4 hours, 37 minutes. New target is 4 hours, 15 minutes. A murmur of professional interest ripples through the assembled staff. 22 minutes might not sound like much, but across 50,000 daily processings, it represents a significant optimization of the Emperor's mercy. That's nearly 18,000 additional hours of purification time that can be redirected to other souls in need. Scribe Quintus raises his mechanical hand. Sir, will the reduction in processing time affect the thoroughness of spiritual cleansing? Some sins require extended purification period for optimal results. Excellent question, Quintus. Supervisor Kane's approval carries through his Vox grill with tinny warmth. Quality Assurance will monitor all metrics to ensure no compromise in spiritual outcomes. We're not reducing mercy, we're optimizing mercy. You nod in agreement. This is exactly the kind of continuous improvement that makes Imperial mercy the most efficient salvation system in the galaxy. Always refining, always perfecting, always finding new ways to serve more souls with the same blessed resources. The day begins in intake processing, where the morning's delivery of penitence awaits classification. Today's manifest shows 2,847 souls requiring correction, a typical Tuesday load for a facility of Theta 7's capacity. They arrive in blessed transport vehicles, each one climate-controlled and equipped with Vox systems playing continuous hymns of preparation. The penitents themselves represent the full spectrum of human spiritual failing, a Prometheum refinery worker who complained about safety protocols, clearly prioritizing his mortal flesh over his immortal duty. A scribe who made 13 calculation errors in a single month, mathematical imprecision being a form of heresy against the emperor's perfect order. A housewife who prepared her family's evening meal 15 minutes late on 3 separate occasions, time theft being theft from the emperor himself. Each case file has been meticulously prepared by the Department of Spiritual Assessment. Sin classifications cross-referenced with theological precedents. Purification requirements calculated using formulas refined over 10 millennia. Optimal mercy applications determined through careful analysis of each soul's particular spiritual needs. You move through the intake queue with practiced efficiency, reviewing files and assigning processing priorities. The elderly receive expedited handling. Their frail bodies require more delicate purification procedures. The children go to specialist Team Delta, trained in juvenile spiritual correction. The pregnant women are handled by the Maternity Mercy Division, where their unborn children can also benefit from purification while still in the womb. Medici Vex approaches with a question about patient 1247, a teenage boy whose sin was drawing a 6-fingered aquila instead of the proper 5-fingered version during art instruction. His file indicates severe artistic deviation syndrome, she explains, her augmetic eye scrolling through the boy's medical data. Recommend extended neural purification to correct the underlying perceptual errors. Estimated processing time, 6 hours, 43 minutes. You review the boy's case thoughtfully. Artistic deviation is indeed serious. It suggests a fundamental failure to perceive the emperor's perfect form correctly. But 6 hours and 43 minutes is well above the new target processing time. What about enhanced neural feedback during the initial stages? You suggest. If we can correct the perceptual errors more efficiently, we might be able to reduce overall processing time while maintaining quality outcomes. Medici Vex considers this, her organic eye focusing on you while her mechanical one continues scanning data. Interesting. That would require recalibrating the neural purification matrices, but it might work. TechAdept Gamma 9 could modify the equipment parameters. This is what makes the work so intellectually stimulating. Every day brings new challenges, new opportunities to improve the mercy delivery system. You're not just following routines, you're continuously innovating, finding better ways to serve the emperor's will through applied spiritual science. The main processing floor spans 17 levels, each one dedicated to a specific form of purification. Level 3 handles theological deviations, heretical thoughts, improper prayers, insufficient faith. Level 7 specializes in behavioral corrections, crimes of action rather than thought. Level 12 is reserved for the most blessed cases, souls whose sins are so complex they require individual attention from master confessors. The sound of the facility at full operation is unlike anything else in the galaxy. 50,000 souls experiencing purification simultaneously creates a symphony of spiritual transformation that can be heard from orbit. The blessed acoustics of the processing chambers are designed to amplify and harmonize the sounds, turning individual cries of correction into a collective hymn of divine love. TechAdept Gamma 9 monitors the mechanical systems with religious devotion. Every purification device is a blessed instrument, sanctified by the Mechanicus and maintained according to sacred protocols passed down through millennia. The neural feedback arrays that help correct thought crimes. The physical purification engines that cleanse sins of the flesh. The combined psycho-spiritual processors that handle complex cases requiring both mental and bodily correction. Machine spirits are pleased today, he reports through his Vox grill. All systems operating at optimal efficiency. The Emperor's blessing flows through blessed circuitry like sacred oil through perfect gears. You watch through the observation galleries as the day's work proceeds with clockwork precision. Each processing chamber follows identical procedures, refined through billions of previous applications. The intake blessing, where souls are prepared for transformation. The sin assessment, where specific spiritual needs are evaluated. The purification application, where mercy is administered with scientific precision. The completion verification, where successful transformation is confirmed and documented. Scribe Quintus maintains meticulous records of everything. Every scream is cataloged by pitch, duration, and spiritual intensity. Every prayer of gratitude is transcribed and filed for theological analysis. Every drop of blessed fluid is measured and accounted for in the facility's purification reports. Processing efficiency is up 37% over yesterday, he announces during the midday briefing. Average completion time has improved to 4 hours, 29 minutes. We're making excellent progress toward the new targets. But it's not just about the numbers. You take a personal interest in the quality outcomes, randomly sampling processed souls to verify that their spiritual transformation meets imperial standards. Patient 847, a baker who used non-blessed flour in his recipes, emerges from purification with tears of joy streaming down his face and words of pure gratitude flowing from his lips. Patient 1156, a teacher who failed to begin each lesson with a prayer to the emperor, now speaks only in hymns and theological quotations. The results are beautiful, consistent, perfect. During your break, you visit the sanctification gardens where the blessed trees grow fat on the ashes of the purified. It's a peaceful place, a reminder that the mercy administered here doesn't end with physical death, but continues as spiritual life in new forms. The trees whisper prayers when the wind moves through their leaves. The grass grows in patterns that spell out devotional verses when viewed from above. Even the insects that live here seem to buzz in harmony with sacred hymns. An elderly janitor named Corvus tends the gardens with simple devotion. He's worked here for 43 years, longer than anyone except Supervisor Kane himself. His job is to collect the blessed ashes from the processing chambers and distribute them among the plants, ensuring that nothing of spiritual value is wasted. Every soul that passes through makes the gardens more beautiful, he tells you as he spreads today's collection around the base of an aquila-shaped hedge. The emperor wastes nothing. Death becomes life. Suffering becomes beauty. Mercy becomes eternal service. You understand what he means. The facility isn't just a place where souls are processed, it's a place where they're transformed. The physical bodies that enter may be corrupted by sin, but the spiritual essence that emerges is pure, refined, worthy of eternal service to the golden throne. The night shift arrives at 2200 hours, and you brief them on the day's achievements before heading home. 2,847 souls successfully processed, 0 quality defects. Efficiency improvements implemented, new optimization protocols tested and approved. But the most satisfying part of your job isn't the statistics or the efficiency ratings. It's the knowledge that you're part of something larger than yourself, something that makes a real difference in the galaxy. Every day, you help 50,000 souls find their way to the Emperor's light. Every day, you contribute to the greatest mercy system ever created. As you walk through the quiet corridors toward the exit, you pass the memorial wall where the names of all processed souls are inscribed in blessed metal. 2,847 new names will be added tomorrow, joining the millions already there. Each one a testament to the facility's sacred mission, each one a life transformed from sin to sanctity through the application of perfect mercy. The final entry in your daily log reads, Processing Plant Theta 7 Operational Summary, Day 5123. Mission accomplished. The Emperor's mercy flows uninterrupted. All souls accounted for and properly transformed. Glory to the Golden Throne. You submit the report to Sector Command and power down your workstation. Tomorrow will bring another 50,000 souls requiring purification. Another opportunity to serve the emperors will through applied spiritual science. Another day of sacred labor in humanity's greatest achievement. Because that's what processing plant Theta 7 really is, not a factory of death, but a factory of transformation. Not a place where souls are destroyed, but where they're perfected. Not an instrument of cruelty, but the physical manifestation of divine love operating at industrial scale. The Emperor's mercy isn't personal anymore. It's mechanical, efficient, routine, and that's exactly what makes it so beautiful. Every soul receives exactly the same perfect attention, the same blessed transformation, the same opportunity for spiritual elevation. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is no more efficient expression of love than processing plant Theta 7. And tomorrow, you'll be back to help it run even better. High above Terra, beyond the choking smog and the endless hives, beyond the palace walls and the golden throne's blazing light, in chambers so rarefied that each breath contains the distilled essence of 10,000 years of prayer, Saint Celestine stands before the throne of tears and weeps with joy. She has been watching. For months now, her consciousness has drifted across the galaxy like golden light made manifest, observing the Emperor's mercy in all its forms. Processing plant Theta 7 on Krieg Secundus, the Grand Mercy Festival on Ophelia VII, the penitential chambers of a million worlds where souls find their transformation through blessed suffering. Each scream rises to her like a prayer. Each death touches her like a blessing. Each moment of purification fills her immortal heart with such profound love that her luminous form trembles with divine emotion. "My Lord," she whispers to the figure bound to the golden throne, "your mercy is more beautiful than all the stars in the galaxy, more perfect than all the prayers ever spoken, more complete than all the love that has ever existed." The Emperor does not answer. He cannot answer. His voice consumed by the endless task of maintaining the Astronomicon, his consciousness scattered across a million simultaneous battles against the dark powers. But Saint Celestine doesn't need words to understand his will. She can feel his approval radiating from the throne like warmth from a star, can sense his satisfaction in the reports that flow to Terra from every corner of human space. 7 million souls purified daily. 0 deviation from theological protocols, 97% efficiency rating in mercy delivery systems. Perfect spiritual transformation maintained across 10,000 years of continuous operation. The numbers are beautiful in their perfection, but it's not statistics that move Saint Celestine to tears. It's the purity of it all. The absolute crystalline perfection of a system that has transformed humanity's basest instincts into its highest expression of divine love. She remembers the early days when mercy was crude and imperfect, when execution was merely death rather than transformation, when suffering served no purpose beyond the ending of life. How far humanity has come since those primitive times, how perfectly they have learned to love. A golden figure materializes beside her, Robot Guilliman, Lord Commander of the Imperium, his face bearing the familiar expression of administrative satisfaction that comes from reviewing efficiency reports. "The quarterly mercy statistics have arrived from Sector Command," he announces, his voice carrying across the chamber like the tolling of blessed bells. "Production is up 12% over the previous period. Quality metrics remain optimal. Resource allocation is operating within acceptable parameters." Saint Celestine turns to regard the returned Primarch, her luminous eyes reflecting the love she feels for all of humanity's loyal servants. And the souls themselves, are they finding peace in their transformation? Guilliman's smile is radiant with pride. More than peace, blessed saint, they find purpose. Each mercy ceremony strengthens the faith of those who witness it. Each purification binds the community closer together in shared devotion. The psychological effects are measurable and profound. He gestures, and a holographic display materializes between them, data streams flowing like rivers of light, showing mercy statistics from across the galaxy. Production facilities operating at optimal capacity. Community celebration indices reaching new peaks. Faith strength measurements indicating unprecedented levels of spiritual cohesion. Look at these numbers, Gilliman continues, his voice warm with paternal pride. Crime rates down 94% on worlds with active mercy programs. Heretical thought incidents reduced to statistically insignificant levels. Community participation in imperial observances at an all-time high. The mercy system isn't just purifying individual souls, it's perfecting entire civilizations. Saint Celestine nods, understanding the deeper implications. The Emperor's mercy doesn't operate in isolation. Each purification ceremony serves as both correction and education, teaching the faithful what perfect love looks like when it's freed from sentiment and refined into pure, crystalline truth. Another figure emerges from the shadows, Rogel Dorn, his scarred features bearing the satisfaction of an architect who sees his greatest work approaching completion. The fortification of mercy delivery systems proceeds according to schedule, he reports, his voice carrying the authority of someone who has spent millennia perfecting the defense of sacred institutions. New processing facilities are being established at a rate of 47 per day. Existing installations are being upgraded with improved efficiency protocols. The infrastructure of salvation grows stronger with each passing hour. Saint Celestine closes her eyes and allows her consciousness to drift outward, touching the minds of those who serve in the mercy facilities across the galaxy. She feels their devotion, their pride in their sacred work, their genuine love for the souls they help to transform. Tech priests maintaining blessed machinery with religious reverence, confessors administering correction with infinite compassion, scribes documenting each moment of transformation with meticulous care. They understand. All of them understand. The mercy they administer isn't cruelty, it's the highest form of love possible in a universe where souls must be protected from their own weakness. There was a time, she murmurs, her voice carrying the weight of 10,000 years of accumulated wisdom, when humans believed mercy meant the absence of consequences, when they thought love required the suspension of justice, when they imagined that protection could exist without purification. Gilliman nods gravely. Primitive thinking, dangerous thinking, the kind of moral softness that allowed the Horus heresy to nearly destroy everything our father built. But we learned, Saint Celestine continues, her smile radiant with divine approval. We evolved. We discovered that true mercy isn't the absence of suffering, it's the perfection of suffering. Not the avoidance of consequences, but the transformation of consequences into something holy. She gestures toward the throne of tears, where the Emperor himself endures 10,000 years of continuous agony for the salvation of humanity. He showed us the way. Every moment of his suffering protects 1 billion souls from chaos. Every instant of his pain maintains the light that guides humanity through the darkness. He taught us that the greatest love requires the greatest sacrifice, not just once, but continuously, eternally, without respite or relief. The assembled Primarchs bow their heads in recognition of their father's supreme example. The Emperor's mercy isn't theoretical, it's practical, demonstrated daily through his willing acceptance of unimaginable torment for the sake of those he loves. The mercy facilities across the galaxy are extensions of this divine example, Dorn observes. Each processing chamber is a miniature golden throne, each purification ceremony a small reflection of the Emperor's great sacrifice. We have taught humanity to love as he loves, completely, perfectly, without compromise. Saint Celestine's consciousness drifts deeper, touching the minds of those who gather to witness mercy ceremonies across the galaxy. She feels their genuine joy, their authentic excitement, their heartfelt gratitude for the opportunity to observe divine love in action. Children learning what perfect devotion looks like. Adults finding their faith strengthened through shared communion with the sacred. Elderly faithful completing their understanding of what mercy truly means. The crowds aren't performing their enthusiasm, they're living it. The tears they shed aren't of sorrow but of joy. The prayers they offer aren't of mourning but of celebration. They have learned, through 10 millennia of careful teaching, to love suffering as much as the Emperor loves those who suffer. There are those, Gilliman says quietly, who still question the mercy system. Xenophils who point to alien species and claim they achieve peace without purification. Heretics who whisper that love shouldn't require pain. Saint Celestine's expression hardens with divine purpose. And what becomes of such questioners? They receive mercy, Dorn replies, his voice carrying grim satisfaction. Their doubts are corrected through proper application of purification protocols. Their misunderstanding is transformed into understanding through blessed suffering. The system corrects itself, as it was designed to do. This is the ultimate beauty of the Emperor's mercy. It's self-perpetuating, immune to corruption, protected against deviation by its own perfect logic. Those who question mercy receive mercy. Those who doubt purification are purified. Those who resist transformation become the subjects of transformation. The system cannot be reformed because reform itself is heresy. It cannot be stopped because stopping it would require mercy for those who would stop it. It cannot be changed because change is corruption, and corruption must be purified. Saint Celestine allows her consciousness to drift across time as well as space, witnessing the historical development of the mercy system from its earliest origins to its current perfection. She sees the Emperor during the Great Crusade, establishing the theological frameworks that would eventually flower into humanity's greatest achievement. She watches the development of the Lectitio Divinitatis, the careful cultivation of faith structures that would make mercy not just acceptable but necessary. She observes the gradual evolution of human psychology across 10 millennia, the slow but inexorable transformation of a species that once feared death into one that genuinely celebrates it as the ultimate expression of love. It wasn't an accident. None of it was an accident. The Emperor didn't just foresee the mercy system, he designed it. Every theological principle, every institutional structure, every psychological conditioning program was planned with the same precision he brought to the creation of the Primarchs themselves. Humanity needed to become something new, something stronger, something capable of surviving in a universe where love itself was a weapon of chaos, where compassion could be corrupted into weakness, where mercy in its primitive form left souls vulnerable to predation by the dark powers. So he made them into something that could love without weakness, something that could show mercy without compromise, something that could protect the innocent by transforming them into something that couldn't be corrupted. The mercy system isn't just about punishing sin, it's about preventing it. Every purification ceremony serves as both correction and education, teaching the faithful what happens to souls that stray from the Emperor's light. Every processing facility serves as both transformation center and deterrent, demonstrating the consequences of heretical thought or behavior. But more than that, the system creates genuine spiritual ecstasy. The crowds that gather to witness mercy ceremonies aren't just learning fear, they're experiencing joy. The shared communion of watching a soul be perfected through suffering. The collective participation in divine love made manifest. The community bonding that occurs when people unite in celebration of sacred transformation. It's the most powerful form of social conditioning ever created, and it operates through authentic emotion rather than forced compliance. People don't pretend to love mercy, they genuinely do love it, because they've been taught to recognize it as the highest form of divine love. The reports from the outer sectors are particularly encouraging, Gilliman notes, consulting another data stream. Worlds that were recently brought into compliance are showing exceptional adaptation rates to mercy protocols. The populations don't resist the system, they embrace it. They compete for the honor of demonstrating their faithfulness through participation in purification ceremonies. Saint Celestine nods, unsurprised. This is how truth works. When people encounter it in its pure form, they recognize it instinctively. The mercy system doesn't need to be imposed through force because it appeals to the deepest human need for meaning, for purpose, for connection to something greater than themselves. "My Lord," she whispers again to the figure on the golden throne, "your mercy is perfect, your love is complete, your wisdom is infinite." And in the depths of her immortal soul, she feels his response, not in words, but in the warm radiance of divine approval that fills her being like liquid starlight. The Emperor's mercy isn't broken. It isn't corrupted. It isn't even difficult to understand. It's working exactly as intended. The screams that rise from a billion worlds aren't cries of pain. They're hymns of transformation. The tears that flow from countless eyes aren't expressions of sorrow. They're manifestations of joy. The deaths that occur in a million processing facilities aren't endings. They're beginnings, births of something pure from something corrupted. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is no war between mercy and cruelty because humanity has learned to love them both with equal fervor. The Emperor's mercy isn't just a slaughterhouse. It's a slaughterhouse that humanity genuinely, passionately, spiritually needs to believe is the highest form of love possible. And it is. It truly, perfectly, completely is. You close your eyes and try to imagine a universe where mercy means something different, where suffering isn't salvation, where love doesn't require torture, where protection doesn't demand sacrifice, where the Emperor's greatest gift to humanity isn't the perfect refinement of pain into prayer, but some other form of grace entirely. But you can't. The thoughts slide away from your mind like water from blessed ceramic, refusing to take coherent shape. After 10 millennia of theological evolution, after 100 generations of careful spiritual conditioning, after countless billions of mercy ceremonies that have redefined the very concept of divine love, humanity has genuinely forgotten what mercy meant before it became a slaughterhouse. And perhaps that's the most beautiful part of all. Sit with me now in the Bibliotheca Sanctus on Holy Terra, where the preserved records of old Earth's history gather dust in climate-controlled vaults. Here, if you know where to look and have the proper theological clearances, you can find fragments of humanity's primitive past, documents that speak of mercy as weakness, texts that describe compassion without consequence, archaeological evidence of civilizations that believed love meant the absence of suffering rather than its perfection. The records are fascinating in their naivety. Ancient human cultures that treated execution as punishment rather than purification. Legal systems that sought to minimize pain rather than optimize it for spiritual benefit. Religious traditions that imagine divine love as something soft and yielding, rather than the crystalline perfection of blessed agony that defines imperial mercy. Reading these documents is like studying the fossils of extinct creatures, interesting as historical curiosities, but utterly irrelevant to modern reality. Those primitive humans were barely recognizable as the same species that now fills the galaxy. They lacked the genetic modifications introduced during the Great Crusade. They hadn't undergone the psychological conditioning programs developed by the Adeptus Mechanicus. Most importantly, they hadn't experienced 10,000 years of evolutionary pressure that favored individuals capable of finding joy in suffering. Because that's what the mercy system has truly accomplished, not just the creation of an efficient purification mechanism, but the fundamental transformation of human nature itself. Consider the children born in the shadow of mercy facilities. They emerge from the womb already programmed to associate the sounds of purification with safety and love. Their first lullabies are the hymns sung during correction ceremonies. Their earliest visual memories are of crowds gathering to celebrate divine transformation. Their neural pathways develop in an environment where mercy equals love, suffering equals blessing, and death equals graduation to a higher form of existence. These children don't have to be taught to love the mercy system. They absorb it through their pores, drink it with their mother's milk, breathe it with every breath of blessed air. By the time they're old enough to form conscious thoughts, the connection between love and sanctified suffering is already hardwired into their neural architecture. Dr. Kepler-Voss, senior psychotheologian at the Institute for Spiritual Genetics, has spent 30 years studying this phenomenon. His research demonstrates that humans born after the implementation of the mercy system show measurably different brain chemistry than their ancestors. increased production of endorphins during exposure to purification ceremonies, enhanced dopamine response to theological suffering, structural modifications to the amygdala that process fear of death as excitement for transformation. We're not the same species that left old Earth during the Great Crusade, he explains in his groundbreaking text, The Evolution of Divine Love. We're something new, something better, something perfectly adapted to find genuine joy in activities that would have horrified our primitive ancestors. But it's not just biological evolution. The mercy system has created powerful cultural selection pressures that favor communities capable of celebrating suffering while eliminating those that resist it. Consider the hive city of Mordian Falls on the world of Korath Prime. 50 years ago, the population showed concerning levels of resistance to mercy protocols. Citizens would gather in private to mourn those who received purification. Children would cry during correction ceremonies instead of singing hymns of gratitude. The community as a whole demonstrated what imperial psychologists classified as primitive empathy dysfunction. The solution was elegant and comprehensive. Rather than attempting to reform the population through education or force, the Adeptus Ministorum simply implemented an intensive mercy program that processed 15% of the hive's population over a 2-year period. The individuals selected for purification weren't chosen for any particular sins, but for their psychological profiles, specifically, their tendency toward emotional resistance to the mercy system. The results were remarkable. The remaining population, now composed entirely of individuals genetically and psychologically predisposed to celebrate mercy, developed into one of the most spiritually healthy communities in the sector. Children born after the purification program showed exceptional enthusiasm for correction ceremonies. Adults competed for the honor of witnessing their neighbors' transformations. The community's collective faith strength ratings increased by 847% within a single generation. Mordian Falls isn't an isolated case. Similar programs have been implemented on thousands of worlds across the Imperium, each one producing the same result. Communities that genuinely, authentically, passionately love the mercy system because they've been evolutionarily optimized to love it. This is the true genius of the Emperor's design, not just the creation of an efficient purification mechanism, but the cultivation of a human subspecies that requires that mechanism for psychological health and spiritual fulfillment. The mercy system doesn't just serve humanity now serves the mercy system, and they're grateful for the privilege. But what about the xenophils who point to alien species as proof that peace can exist without purification? What about the heretical whispers that suggest other forms of love might be possible? The answer is both simple and profound. Those aliens are not human. The Tao speak of their greater good as if shared prosperity could replace shared suffering. But Tao psychology lacks the sophisticated emotional architecture that allows humans to transform pain into spiritual ecstasy. They're incapable of experiencing mercy in its true form, not because they're evil, but because they're limited. The Eldar cling to their fading empire and speak of love as something ethereal and distant. But Eldar souls are already corrupted by chaos, already tainted by the fall that destroyed their civilization. They cannot comprehend the purity that comes from willing acceptance of sanctified suffering. Even the Space Marines, humanity's greatest warriors, experience only a diluted version of true mercy. Their psychological conditioning makes them capable of enduring pain, but not of transforming it into joy. They serve the Emperor through duty rather than love, through obligation rather than genuine spiritual fulfillment. Only baseline humanity, modified, evolved, perfected through 10 millennia of careful cultivation, possesses the psychological and spiritual sophistication necessary to experience mercy in its purest form. And that brings us to the children's question, the moment that crystallizes everything the mercy system has achieved. Picture young Matthias Verlaine, age 7, sitting in his family's hab unit after witnessing his first mercy ceremony. His mother, Helena, kneels beside his bed as she tucks him in for the evening, her face still radiant with the joy of having witnessed Sister Agatha's transformation earlier that day. "Mama," Matthias asks, his voice filled with innocent curiosity, "what does mercy mean?" Helena's smile deepens as she considers how to explain such a profound concept to her precious child. She wants to give him an answer that captures not just the theological definition, but the emotional reality of what mercy represents in their lives. "Mercy, my darling," she says, her voice warm with maternal love and absolute conviction, "is when someone who loves you very much hurts you in exactly the right way to save your soul. It's the most beautiful gift the Emperor can give, because it means he cares enough about you to help you become perfect." Little Matthias's eyes widen with understanding and excitement. "Like when you give me medicine when I'm sick. It tastes bad, but it makes me better." "Exactly like that," Helena confirms, "but for your spirit instead of your body. The Emperor's mercy might seem scary to people who don't understand it, but it's really the most loving thing in the entire galaxy." Matthias nods solemnly, processing this information with the gravity that only children can bring to profound truths. "Mama," he says after a moment, "do you think I'll ever be blessed enough to receive mercy?" Helena's heart swells with pride at her son's spiritual wisdom. At 7 years old, he already understands what took humanity millennia to learn, that mercy isn't something to be feared but something to be desired, not a punishment but a privilege, not an ending but a beginning. "If you're very good," she tells him, "and if you live a faithful life, and if the Emperor decides your soul needs that kind of perfect love, then yes, you might be that blessed someday." Matthias smiles with pure joy at the possibility, then settles into his pillow with the contentment that comes from understanding his place in the greater design of divine love. This conversation, or variations of it, occurs millions of times every night across the Imperium. Children learning that mercy means love, that suffering means blessing, that death means graduation to something greater. Parents passing down not just information but genuine emotional responses, authentic joy at the prospect of purification, real excitement at the possibility of transformation, heartfelt gratitude for living in an age when divine love is available in such perfect form. The mercy system has become self-perpetuating not through force or fear, but through love, genuine, authentic, evolutionarily optimized love that makes resistance literally impossible for minds shaped by 10 millennia of careful conditioning. And that brings us to the ultimate horror, or perhaps the ultimate beauty, of what humanity has become. The mercy system cannot be reformed because reform would require mercy for the reformers. It cannot be stopped because stopping it would be heresy, and heresy requires purification. It cannot be questioned because questions indicate doubt, and doubt must be corrected through proper application of suffering. The system has achieved perfect recursive stability. Every possible form of resistance becomes fuel for its own operation. Every doubt generates its own resolution. Every attempt at escape becomes an opportunity for deeper integration. But perhaps most remarkably, this isn't experienced as oppression by those within the system. It's experienced as freedom, freedom from uncertainty, freedom from moral complexity, freedom from the primitive struggle to define good and evil without divine guidance. In the mercy system, every question has been answered. Love equals suffering. Protection equals purification. Salvation equals death transformed into something holy. The burden of choice has been lifted from humanity's shoulders and replaced with the blessing of certainty. This is what the Emperor's mercy has truly accomplished, not just the creation of an efficient killing machine, but the evolution of a human subspecies that genuinely needs that machine for psychological health and spiritual fulfillment. In the end, the question isn't whether the mercy system is right or wrong. The question isn't whether it represents love or cruelty. The question isn't even whether it serves humanity's best interests. The question is whether humanity, as it exists in the 41st millennium, could survive without it. And the answer, written in the genetic code of 1 trillion believers and carved into the neural pathways of countless generations, is no. The Emperor's mercy isn't just a slaughterhouse. It's a slaughterhouse that humanity genuinely, passionately, spiritually needs to believe is the highest form of love possible. Because after 10,000 years of evolution, it has become exactly that. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is no war between mercy and cruelty, because humanity has learned to love them both with equal fervor. And in that terrible, beautiful unity, they have found something that transcends both, the perfect expression of what love means when it's been refined through the crucible of absolute faith. This is mercy. This is love. This is the Emperor's gift to humanity, and humanity has never been more grateful.